Hello everybody. Well, what a day it turned out to be, and of course it would be the day after I sent out my last update, and of course they would have brought out the press release at 12 o'clock, me having waited until 11 o'clock to write my end of term report headers. Hey ho. So what can I tell you that you don't already know? Probably not that much, other than I think this is really, really good news for you, and I'm very, very excited for you for all sorts of reasons that I'm going to discuss in a bit. So how does the process work? Well, you know this already, but let's just make sure that we're all on the same page. So we produce something called centre assessment grades. We pass these centre assessment grades onto the exam boards, and the exam boards take those assessment grades and they come up with a final grade, which will be given to you on the 13th of August, which is when you would have got your grades anyway. There is an appeal process, but of that we know absolutely nothing because it hasn't been described yet. I don't think they've invented it yet. They're still working on it. But obviously more details will come on that in due time, but that is essentially out of our control. What is within our control, I suppose, are these centre assessment grades. And so let me just give you an idea as to what we're going to be thinking about when we put those together. We know you. We've been watching you work for years, and so we've got a very, very good idea of your application and your ability and the amount of work that was likely to happen between now and the exams. So we take all of that into account. We take into account the work you've done to this point, you know, your GCSE record. We look at your mock sits. Of course, we look at your mock sits there. But we also look at the work you've done over the upper six, particularly the work you've done over the upper six. And the work that's ongoing even as the guillotine fell. And we also take into account the progress that every Stoic puts in over the summer term. We know that many of you are going to go out and do massive revision programs, and we know that many of you really grow very, very quickly in that last bit of the summer term. So all of that is going to be involved in our calculus. So don't think for a second that it's going to be a straight line extrapolation from your mocks to the exam results. That's not how it's going to work. It's going to be a much more complex and involved process than that. And so we know that everyone develops at different rates. We know that people are going to put in huge amounts of effort over the Easter holidays, and we know that that effort would have continued in the run up to the exam. So please don't think that we're just dropping everything on the March 20th and that we will not be building any further development into that equation. So we know that you're working hard. We know that everyone develops at different rates. We know that there's a huge amount of effort that would have happened between now and the exams. All of that is going to be taken into account, I can assure you. How the exam boards will take all of that into account, well, obviously we don't know yet because this is a process that is still being developed between the Education Department and Ofqual. Just some clattering and banging. Hang on a second. Sorry, there we go. We're back. A couple of things you need to know about the exam boards and their calculations. But first of all, Stowe has an incredible record for value added in terms of taking these GCSEs and turning them into those A levels. Our value added is a matter of public record. And so when we present grades that reflect your effort that would be going on between now and the exam, they are likely to take those centre calculations in good faith. We have a value-added record that is going to support us on that, and so don't think for a second those are going to get rejected wholeheartedly. They simply won't be. Quite apart from anything else, the other thing you need to know is that when the final grades are allocated, that they will be looking to reflect general allocations or general grade distributions in the allocation of this year's grades. So there will be a more or less consistent pattern of A stars all the way down through to U's, consistent with the historical norm. So that's going to happen. The exam boards know that every school has its strengths and weaknesses, and that will all be taken into account when these final grades are predicted. I'm absolutely certain of that. There is one more thing that I would like to go through just at this point. The exam boards, or rather the guidance from government, is extraordinarily clear. In fact, it stresses that centres must not, and I'm quoting here, centres must not under any circumstances share centre data with students or parents, carers or any other individuals outside the centre before the final results have been issued. Please, and I know this is going to be very, very hard, don't put us on the spot, or indeed anybody else on the spot. These grades have to be sub judice between now and the final release. It was very, very explicit in the instructions, and we have to make sure that we can protect the integrity of the entire process as soon as we can. And we know we can rely on you to help us do that. So that's it. I'm not going to say any more of that. Particularly because I want to get on to the good news. And the good news, oh gosh, I've been waiting to say this for so long, is that you can down tools. Assuming that is, you've done enough to convince us of your academic bona fides. If you haven't, then you'll have a chance to put that right in the autumn, but I'll talk about that later. But now, the critical thing to remember is that your academic work for the 2020 A-level cycle is essentially done. There's nothing more that you can change, nothing you can do to change that particular outcome. So please give us the time and the space that we're going to need to make sure that we get our calculations right and accurate. So if you want to have another go in the autumn, we can help you with that. Please, we will. That's something we're going to do. We're not just going to cut you loose. But the work this cycle is done. So everybody, deep breath. Well done. Well done. We got through it. And so with that, our attention can shift to the future. And the way I look at it, because how else should you look at it? The way I look at it, you've just got the most incredible opportunity. You've just been gifted the most incredible opportunity. And when the dust settles, as it shall, and you move on to whatever comes next, as you necessarily will, we need to make sure that this little period here, this little interregnum, has been productive and constructive, and that you have been able to put it to the most effective use that we can possibly imagine. And we are here to help you with that. We have lined up a program that's going to give you a head start on the next stage of your journey, whatever that is. And I'll stop you right there. If you just think this is going to be a bunch of middle-aged boomers banging on what it was like when they were at university, we've thought of that too. And it won't be. It's not that, okay? It's not that program. What would be the point of that? I don't want to spoil the surprise, but I can assure you that it's not going to be more of the same or just the usual. And I genuinely think that you are going to like it. But that, again, can wait. For now, relax. Your work is done. For now, anyway. And we will be on hand to help you through to the next stage, and the next phase, whatever that is going to be. So I told you this would pass, but as the great sage Semisonic said, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end, and so this too shall in time pass. But as ever, we're just going to be here to help you through it, and we'll be in touch very, very soon to explain in much more detail the exciting things that we've got lined up for the future. So yes, sorry, in case you're wondering, this old thing, just something I found. It's Corporate Sevens, Hong Kong 1999, which you may find interesting when I turn around. So make of that what you will. And that's about it from me. I'm sure you've got lots of questions. I'm here to answer them. Send me through any emails, any questions you've got. But again, please give us the time and the space to make sure that we get our calculations right, because this really matters and we need to make sure that everything is above board and kosher. But that's it for now. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for your understanding. Enjoy the Easter holidays. Floyd out.